Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting for Monday, January the 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. I'd like to remind everyone that we're recording this meeting for public viewing. And with that, do I have a motion to adopt this evening's agenda? Seconded by Councillor Bland, seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Reminded, motion carried. I'll remind everyone that conflict of interest forms up in the cabinet. If you have a conflict this evening, please fill it in and toss it into the clerk stating your reasons. And with that, we'll move on to item number 4, the adoption of the minutes. Item 4.1, regular council meeting on December 8th, 2025. Do I have a motion? So moved by Deputy Mayor Molina, seconded by Councillor Thorne. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Reminded, motion carried. Moving on to item 4.2, special council meeting from December 30th, 2025. Do we need a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Bland, seconded by Councillor Thorne. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Reminded, motion carried. We have a couple of items in the consent agenda item or package this evening, and we've all received. We have a motion to accept those. Moved by Councillor Thorne, seconded by Deputy Mayor Blias. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions to that, all in favor? Aye. Reminded, motion carried. And then one item number 6, public presentation, that is 6.1, and a presentation from the Salisbury Farmers and Artisans Market. We have Susan Winkletter here this evening. Susan.
Well, now,
Yeah, what's going on? How well?
see me?
I am not.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, you too. Oh, and this is our budget, most recent.
Thank you.
One more. There we go. So that's the budget for that ended March 31st, 2025. So our most recent. And you can see that we are in the black. We didn't go over budget this year, but it's very close. So have a little bit better revenue stream this year. We've been a little lenient with the restaurant where they were just starting out. Usually they pay a little, they are paying a little bit more than that now, every month. The restaurant bureau, that's the charge for Furo to come and empty their dumpsters, so we pay it, they reimburse us. Office space, farmers market, fundraisers, craft shop, that's Brenda's craft shop, she pays us rent. Then on the second floor, we generated a little bit of income last year, around $4,000. We had 7,000 in donations, and 5 of that was from the town of Salisbury, so I just want to thank you for your donations in the past, and $230 in memberships. What has changed mostly at the farmers market in 2025 is that we now have a loan that we pay on. The loan was to insulate our second floor so that it holds heat a little bit. So I think we got the power bill for last month was $450. So that's not too bad considering it was December and it was quite cold. But we don't run the heat all the time either, just when people are using it. So that was good. We couldn't even heat it last year because it didn't matter how many heaters you had on, you couldn't heat it.
You need to go ahead.
Yeah.
That's
So you can see our utilities include with basically internet and electricity. So our solar panels are working well, knocking off a lot of our electricity costs. I don't think we even paid. I think our solar credits got us till January or February, so then we had to pay like March and April and May before we started generating enough electricity to cancel it out again. Property taxes are our biggest bill, close to $13,000 a year in property taxes. That will probably go up again. I don't know, or maybe it won't. I don't. Is it you guys that control that, or?
The assessments are controlled by the province and the.
Okay, so they might go up a bit. You guys are holding the line on the town.
Right.
Yeah. We were kind of hoping that might happen to us too. Don't know. We'll soon find out. Insurance is another big one for us. Bank fees, and then the loan payment, of course, is, another big one for us. So I guess we made 41,000 in revenues and we paid out 40,000 in expenses. So we're very close to the wire annually, but I hope that the revenue stream will improve with the restaurant, but we know the restaurant is opening a second location. We hope that they're successful. I know they'd like to stay open in Salisbury as well, but I know a lot of their clientele does come from out of town, so it may cut their revenue stream for here in the village, I don't know. And for office space, Doug Northrup is there, and he's talking about retiring. I don't know, he's not well, his wife's not well, so we'll have to see what happens there. So there could be a major disruption in our rental income for the 2026 year. We'll have to see.
How did you make out for the next 3 quarters after this? Because you've had 3 quarters since this report.
Yeah,
Wow.
the restaurant has been able to pay us they kept up their rent. So, I don't know where this is public.
And your
Or
farmer's
it's massive, I
market?
don't want to tell you how much.
No, and I mean, we don't.
So it's gonna be double that, the revenue from the restaurant this year.
So I guess bottom line, like, because I'm assuming you're doing interim statements, so for your next 3 quarters,
Yeah,
what did the next 3 quarters look like?
oh, I haven't, I can't say I haven't seen it. I do see the bank account statement every month.
Mhm.
And right now we have $15,000 in our bank account.
Okay.
So we have enough to pay, we hope, the property taxes and the insurance, which is the major expenses for the year anyway. Well, just a loan payment would be the other big one, and the farmer's market itself usually generates enough revenue for that. So I think we're okay, but again, with the restaurant, trying to stay, but also trying to open up another location, I mean, we're pretty sure we're gonna lose the accounting revenue. So that puts a big hole in our budget upcoming. We're just creating our budget now. We're assuming they're gonna stay. But, we don't know. Well, no, we know, I think we're pretty sure that Doug is not gonna continue after the next fiscal, after March. After the March year, yeah, after the next tax season. But the restaurant has spoken for that space, so that makes us hopeful that they're actually gonna stay. If they can.
Time will tell.
This is a very hard time of year for them too. I know they don't have much revenue in these,
All restaurants and.
yeah.
After Christmas, bills.
Well, if you can support the restaurant by having a meal there, I would encourage you to do that. They really need the revenue this time of year. People don't like to travel on icy roads. They told me that 80% of their revenue comes from out of town.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, how is your traffic in the market itself on Saturday, Susan?
We don't really, like when we had COVID, it was nice. Everybody had to give us their names and phone numbers and we could actually count how many people came through the door. We don't. The only thing we can go by is how much money comes through our cash register. And it's up over last year. I can't say how much. I can probably find that data for you if you really want me to go look.
I would just be interested for you if you look
Yeah, I
at the
think
number of
we had-
transactions that you had.
We hit, in December, we were hitting $2,000 going, that's just going through the cash register. Everybody at the table was also paying with, anybody that could pay in cash was directly paying the vendor. So all we have a record of is what came through what our Square system calculated, basically.
No, it's more.
It was basically almost double of what we took in last year. So I know that it's growing.
Well, I mean, I physically, just being, the reason I asked the question, it seems to me there's more people that are there on Saturdays.
There is.
But, yeah,
Yeah, and I see a lot of outside, a lot of people, farmers markets are a tourist destination for some people. People like to go around and visit farmers markets. It's something that you do on a Saturday morning, like the people that do the yard sales.
I was just gonna say, it's like our yard sale goers, right?
Yeah.
I would recommend not for this, but just, it'd be kind of cool if you could look at your square data, not the dollar amount, but the transaction amount.
Yeah.
I recognize some people paying cash.
Yeah.
But if you had whatever, 1,000 transactions X versus year over year, I think that would be a good way for you to track, just internally for yourself to see the growth you're
Yeah,
having to,
yeah,
which will help you in other, probably attraction as well, if you have spare space to rent out, to show people that this is the traffic and the volume that.
right,
Bring
yeah.
it.
No, it'd be good if there would be some easy way to.
And now that you have heat upstairs, you're gonna be able to use that for,
No, it's still not,
not heat, but it's insulated.
it is, so we can use it a little bit, but it still doesn't meet fire code.
Yeah.
We still have some work to do there, and we have the fire separation between the first and second floor now.
Yeah.
So that was one of the problems.
Stairwell?
Yeah, it's stairwell. So we have that fixed. And we have the insulation on the ceiling, it's covered with the fireproof paint, but it's still not enough. They still want gyprock on that ceiling, and that's another $60,000 to do that.
You know why the deer held a different level in Copper Lane and Sussex?
No,
I like, again, I go there, it's got the downstairs, and their upstairs is completely wide open, like yours was
I know,
before.
it's just bored.
They run wedding shows, they run events up there all the time, huge
I
events. and
wonder
they're
if it's
not-
proximity to other buildings, because
Maybe.
here, you're right attached to,
Mm.
and so close to other buildings. But there at Copler, it's wide open. It
But-
could be the determining factor.
But is it the exposed installation or they just want gypro?
No, it has to have a 60-minute
Rating.
fire rating.
So steel or anything to that effect is not
Steel's, you mean steel roof?
steel roofing on the inside,
No,
because that'd go up a lot faster.
no, the building inspector said that would make it worse,
What?
because it melts.
Eventually. So it's everything.
They're fine with us,
I got over.
but we still have to have the 60-minute behind the steel roof. The steel roof does not add anything to the fire rating.
Do you,
That was fire stoves work. They're made of metal.
have you looked at the,
Furnace.
like, every power efficiency?
Oh, yeah. We actually, I applied for that in 2022, 2023, 2024. I don't think I applied for it in 2025. Oh, yes, I did apply for it in 2025 because we did the installation. So we did get a little bit, you haven't actually received it yet, but here, we're getting a little bit back. And they actually, I asked them about the 2022, the 2023, and 2024 application. And they said they would look into it and they found them. And I think we're gonna get, well, I hope we're gonna get something back for the installation of the heat pump back in 2023.
Did you have anybody come out and show you the time?
Yes.
So I know that they,
Well, Tweedy, the engineering firm in Riverview, did the mechanical, heating and ventilation for that building. It was required by COA before
yeah,
we got COA funding, so they did it for us.
specifically for the, sorry, for Indy Power though, they will have, like, if you contact them, they can send somebody out
We did that.
and,
3D came out in February of this year, of last year, and actually did the paperwork for the energy audit, they called it.
it wasn't any power.
Yeah, no, well, yeah.
They were-
Jonathan Dixon came that for Indy Power, and he told us that, yes, the building would qualify. And it's because we were doing the installation upstairs.
Yes, okay.
But he said you have to have an energy audit. So we went back to MEP Engineering and asked, did you maybe do an energy audit before you designed the heating system for the building? He said, no, I didn't, but I will go back and do that for you. And they did the same thing. I called the Smart Energy, the company that put solar panels on the roof, so we did get, and because they had a 2022 application, it covered the solar panel installation, and we did get a rebate for that.
Good for you.
Yeah,
That's good. That's
Okay.
really good.
Any additional questions?
You need gyp rock for the whole ceiling? Not just like 8 feet up, like it just seems like.
Yeah,
the
they
whole
are-
ceiling's
are-
ridiculous.
I know,
It's a barn.
I know. Well,
But she
it's
wants
not a
the-
It's still a barn. I understand, but it's still a barn. How does barn go to fly?
Wanted us to do a double layer of gyp rock.
What?
2 layers of gyp rock. And we called in a contractor to get a price on that, and it was gonna be over $100,000.
Yeah.
And he said, you don't want, that'll add so much weight to your building that it makes the structure unsound. So I went back to the structural engineer and I said, our contractor says we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't add 2 layers of gyp rock, this would add too much weight to the building. And that's why he let us get away with the,
Single layer.
single layer plus the 15-minute.
I'd argue if that was fully loaded with hay, it'd have lots of weight too, so it's more than capable of holding that. But I don't understand the logic behind it.
Well,
If
it's
you're
the
gonna have a
weight,
fire,
yeah, the weight from the gyp rock wouldn't be sitting on the floor though, it's pushing you
I
on
understand.
both sides outward.
I understand.
I have one more question. Question, maybe a comment, I'm not sure. You are not a registered applicant, right? Or are you?
We are registered,
You are.
we are a nonprofit co-op,
Okay.
otherwise we wouldn't have been able to get a co-op.
I just, some note, like I just noticed, I know very reading, obviously not that you kind of like one.
Well, I have a more detailed one if you want to see it, because it didn't have some of the, I had to fix it up a little bit, so I just, I just had it make kind of, maybe I passed it out, but I would say,
You have a spreadsheet, I think.
yeah, the spreadsheet,
Do you, like, I know, your farmer's market line, is that's the revenue from the market itself? Basically from either your or your
which one?
Table fees.
the market, yeah, like.
Yeah, that's the,
Is
table
that
fees.
such a cheap?
Yeah, that's what we don't have a high table fee. We only charge $15.
No, that's where I was kind of, that's why I was asking about what you were operating as a.
That's a lot less than anybody else.
Oh, I know.
Everybody else is charging at least $75.
I know.
Even the
And-
church.
I only charge $30.
So,
Just to remind everybody,
Only double.
listen to the conversation, that's questions, not to
yeah,
Right.
keep business model.
There is room to move that up. And a lot of, and the vendors that do the best, I mean, there's like 4 core vendors at that market that generally make their living or,
yeah,
and they do pay more, which is why it adds up to $13,000. They're not paying, I'm not paying $15 a week. I'm paying much more than that.
do you have a set, like, to maintain that status if you're, not your co-op status, to keep the, your profit margin at a certain percentage or,
No, COA is pretty much done with us now. We've done our final report for COA, and there's no strings attached with that funding, except that it has to remain a nonprofit for, I think, at least 10 years.
Just out of curiosity, is there anything you'd like council or the town to do for the farmers market in the future? Or is there any projects coming up that you need help with?
Well, what we would like to do in 2026 is start having some live entertainment, and we have done some in 2025. So we've had some people up there, and for the most part, they're volunteers. We've had Shelby up there playing the piano, and we just put a bucket out and they get some support. And we had another band that's interested in doing stuff at the farmers market, so they've been out a few times and done some stuff. And we would like to have more of that, because that's a skill too, right? So that's a small business too.
I was in the Dieppe farmers market a couple weeks ago and the stuff you saw in the entrances and stuff, so it does make sense
Yeah,
that you'd branch it into that.
yeah. So with more in the arts, we'd like to have more food. We'd love to have somebody doing breakfast. And we'd really love to do the kitchen upstairs, have a kitchen upstairs. That's all stuff that, and we need a finished floor upstairs, of course, more gyprock, but I think right now, I think we would be okay. Where we have it insulated and we have the 15 minute, I think we could get, although the building doesn't meet fire code. I think we would still be allowed, I haven't had the fire marshal in to take a look, so I don't know. if
There's no way it could be fire code. It was built too long ago. Like, there's no way.
Yes, I know that.
Like,
Yeah,
it's grandfathered to. a
we are
certain point.
grandfathered in on
Yeah.
things, yes.
But I wonder if maybe some kind of a floating ceiling. So you
Yeah,
wouldn't have
that's
to do the
what
gyprock the
the
whole,
yeah.
but yeah,
That's what the structural engineer suggested,
yeah,
but it takes away the,
aesthetic. I understand completely.
building.
I have a hip roof barn. I understand completely.
Would that make, like, if that was too code for you, just to go off of his question, would that be a big difference in what you could do,
Offer.
and what you could bring in?
Yes and no, because the other problem is it's not wheelchair accessible. And that's a limitation for us too, right?
Right.
If somebody wants to have a wedding up there, chances are there's people in their family that wouldn't be able to go up there because it's just a set of stairs, that's it. There is accessibility funding, and next time it comes around, we'll put in an application for, some kind of lift. Maybe it probably won't be a full elevator, but they have hydraulic lifts now that run off your wall. So I'll have to get a price on it, be ready for the accessibility fund, because it's very small window, as you probably know, when it comes up, you pretty much gotta have your project ready to go.
There's even a stair lift, like a,
Stairs aren't wide enough.
Oh.
They gotta be at least 6 feet wide. And ours aren't. I don't think, anyway.
I don't understand. At a certain point.
Yeah, well, we looked at all that stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
An old building is sometimes hard
To fit all the things you'd like to do.
but right now we have, an archery club up there. Yeah, they do archery. And we also have a dog trainer, and she's off the line when she has class.
Yep.
She takes the dogs up there. So it's not a fancy building, so we can get away with that. And it generates a fair amount of revenue. It was $4,000 last year, just with the dog trainer and the archery club.
I want to thank you, Susan, for being one of the steps in revitalizing our Main Street.
Yes.
I know you took it on personally from the beginning, and you certainly make a big difference on our Main Street and throughout the
Community.
community. So
Great
thank you very much for that.
And that's a recommendation.
Yeah, and our next, we have it tabled for our next council meetings.
Okay, and we want to thank you for the support that we got through our renovation with the funding, $5,000 a year. And then also for helping us out with the entrance, that you guys contributed to that significantly as well. And for just the support of people coming to the farmers market, we want to thank you for that too. And if you haven't been there, then you should come and visit.
We had a Christmas party there this year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I might have-
Good work.
That's great. Oh, thank you.
That's a great.
Thank you, Susan.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, moving ahead, we're going to move on to item 7, reports and recommendations, there is none this evening. Moving on to item number 8, reports from administration, and 8.1 resident survey direction.
So this is an item that we would normally take to committee of the whole, but we're taking today, or tonight, I should say, not today, just in the essence of time. But we've retained a firm to do a townwide survey ahead of our updated strat plan. So it seems like yesterday that we just created our first one, but we are gearing up to prepare for a new 5-year strat plan that will start after the election in May. So when we started our last strat plan, council will recall that it was a lot of we did it internally, so it was a lot of kind of setting the foundation for what we needed to do, not necessarily, there's a lot of things we wanted to do and that we did do, but a lot of it were things that were to get our feet under us. So there was limited public consultation through that process, and what we committed to was doing public consultation through various sub-projects essentially that were guided by the strat plan, the rec master plan, a lot of recreation related things. So as part of our setting the foundation for, the new 5-year plan, we retained a firm to do a resident-wide survey to try to get as many as possible. Not being administered by the town intentionally, so third party with unique codes that everybody will have access to via mail. The role of the town is to, through that process, to market it, and make sure the residents know it's coming to the mailbox. But ultimately, at this point, our role is to, provide the firm, so Narrative Research in this case, some direction on general themes or topics. So we've provided them with, if you look on page 3 and 4, mostly just page 3, on the memo or on the CRF that's in your package, you'll see a number of different general topics or buckets of topics that we've provided to them that they're starting to use to craft a survey. And then they know that we're coming tonight for direction from council in case there's anything specific the council would like to know more of. This does not include what we would call demographic data, so they'll ask that type of information at the end to be able to categorize it. That includes age, gender, postal code is separated by not necessarily wards, but different kind of pockets geographically. So that type of information is not here and is a given and will be included as part of it, but the remainder is some generic types of questions. Some of them, for an example, they will ask a generic question, and then the next question will prompt residents that they can compare our understanding of priorities or concerns over what people list. So that's why we have a third party that knows how to craft these surveys. We give them topics and they run with the rest. So we're looking for any input if there is any, and there's also some link reports from four municipalities, just to give you an idea of what you can anticipate, quite more robust than what the public consultation summaries you get from us when we do Google Forms. So with that, there is a recommendation, if someone would like to move it, and then we can dive into any additions or questions on any of the topics that we've proposed, based on our kickoff meeting with them.
I'll move that council direct administration to continue ongoing work with Narrative Research to solicit household input on on the themes proposed as presented.
Moved by Councillor Baxter, second by Councillor Thorne. Questions to the motion?
I have a couple. First off, I think half of those questions will be better. It's just at a certain point, we'll get tired of doing the survey.
100%.
Cut half of them out.
We're giving them a list and they're gonna,
Yeah.
because they'll come back to us with a time, like, and you don't want it more than 10 minutes.
10 to 15
Yeah.
minutes is at the most.
You don't
You're
want it
never
more.
gonna get through all that stuff in that time. So
100%, yeah, 100%.
I would whittle that down a little bit, but
Yeah.
the only question I really have is what is the cost of having a survey with Narrative?
Good question. So we went to 4 firms, all of them around the same bucket, so including mailing, printing, surveying reports, it's anywhere between 12 and 15,000 is what it was. Or it is, yeah. Part of that we got to take out of 2025 to design the survey.
So if we're gonna spend that kind of money to find stuff out, then you wanna make sure that's good information you are getting, is my opinion,
100%.
because that's not an insignificant amount of money to spend on something to that effect.
I think I thought I put that in there, I may not.
The price of it?
Yeah,
No, I didn't.
No.
Wasn't in what I read.
I think the one that is most like valuable to me would be the bullet point about like addressing priorities with or without additional taxation. Like I'm interested to know what people are willing to pay extra for. I think that's like just a interesting tidbit that I'd like to know.
I think that's in most of the surveys that they'll
Yeah.
do, because it gauges it, that helps them quantify priorities.
Yeah,
So I think half the survey has to be at least future items.
I agree.
Some of it can be
Yeah.
half, like what's currently being done, but the other half's gonna be what is the future.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because that's where the priorities and the tone has to be set to drive things into the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I like that terminology, like value for taxation.
Yeah.
Like when you consider what your tax bill is, like, and what that actually funds is
Yeah.
pretty impressive, I think.
I agree, but I don't care who you are, everyone would like to be taxed less or thinks that
Yeah, yeah.
that tax dollars is not
Yeah.
spent in an appropriate manner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I recognize that, but
there's no way to easily square that, I think,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Is it possible, maybe I'm missing it, but could we ask like what we're missing? Like, what are we missing? Are we missing anything? Like what, I don't know if we want to.
Suggestions?
but- No, not suggestions, because it's just more like,
Like, are there any gaps?
what do you think? or where you feel we're missing it,
Yeah.
you know, as far as kind of direction we're going.
That's a good way to frame it, yeah, yes,
You
yeah.
don't want, you don't, we don't want suggestions, but it's more, I want it to be less like, I don't
Feel
want
like
to
that's a-
promote an abrasive response, it's more
Yeah.
Yeah.
about what, like if you were at this table.
Yeah.
What would you want us to focus on?
What messing
I've read that somewhere that it's about identifying gaps.
Well, one of them, and when they talk about like general satisfaction, they'll probably find a way to say like, what's missing to increase
gonna
that
be-
satisfaction or something.
Right,
Yeah.
usually is on those
Yeah.
surveys, there's always one open-ended,
Yeah.
how can we make this better?
Yes,
You're-
because I saw that and then like they overlap it with like our priorities and see
Yeah.
where the gaps.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
would love to steer away from making things better and stuff, that terminology, just because it's. I think
It's already great.
We're doing great, no.
Where
But it's
is
more
it?
about like that, just open general,
Yeah.
like what, if you were here, what would you?
And these,
Like, what would you wanna work on, what would you wanna promote, what would you want to?
What should the focus be?
Right,
this wording is our wording too, so they'll know how to best prompt and probe, like, but yeah, that's a good way of putting it out, that.
yeah, versus suggestion for difference,
Agree.
right,
Agree.
like, it's more of a bring them into the conclusion of the conversation. And then if there's a way of making some of those optional and some mandatory for like responses.
Questions, you mean? Actually, we never talked about that, that's a good,
To
I
your
don't know what they
point,
got to do.
If I don't care about somebody, we don't want to just get a response because they want to get to the question they really want to talk about.
Yeah, not applicable or,
Right, like you just kind of.
Yeah.
Like there's ones that we would want 100%, like the geographical locations.
Yeah.
Should really be mandatory.
The demographic data will be,
Right,
yeah,
start it, not end it. Like you should you must have your postal code, you must have your whatever.
they must give that option now that I think, because we talked about, I asked one of the questions was why some questions had more responses than others. I never even thought that they weren't mandatory and they skipped them, they just said some of them didn't, like, not all of them had answers. So they must have, like, in most, you must be able to be given the option, but all chat.
And I don't, right now, I don't know which ones we would want. but
Right.
I would trust you guys, like, no.
but even the option of no opinion. Like,
Yeah, skip or something,
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't want to prompt a response just to get a response.
No.
It's like, you want the real good responses.
Agreed.
These experts should be able to
Yeah.
Exactly.
come
Would
back
we-
with
would
what
we get a preview
best
of
practices have
the
been.
questions before they're sent out?
Yeah,
Do you want us to do the survey?
we can send it, it'll be a quick turnaround, but we can send it, won't be at a meeting, but we can send it, yep.
Is it worth trying, on the topic of water, trying to gauge what residents feel is a fair price for water?
The only challenge is that it wouldn't apply to everybody,
No.
that's one
Right.
flag they did have for us when I mentioned it, but we could.
75% of people are gonna
Which
be
is,
eligible.
comments say, I'm outside the service
Yeah.
boundary or.
I think it applying to everybody is irrelevant because it's still the community, like the possible residents.
Yeah.
Future residents, or it's a good,
Yeah,
like whether you ask somebody in a Moncton or Dieppe or here or anywhere, right? What people are willing to pay for something that they don't have is still an interesting.
the flag that when it was mentioned was that we don't have time to explain things like serviceable boundary, that was the piece, and they're.
Forward Village.
True, this is true, yeah, I could see what they think, especially if they wanna add that to like the value of taxation.
I can see it being valuable for the next council to know what residents think is acceptable.
I think it's extremely valuable, but it has to be framed in the fact that only those eligible will be paying.
Right.
Because if you say that everyone will be paying for it, then you're gonna get 75% saying no.
I also think like, you're just gonna confuse everybody with it, because people
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't read everything.
Well,
It
and
feels like more of a
As a
specific.
bargain,
They're gonna read into,
Right.
they're gonna read into.
Yeah, that-
Yeah.
well, and I don't know that the majority of the public understands the nuances between what we're responsible for as a town versus the province versus the federal government, so like, okay,
I
I
don't
just,
even
I don't,
understand all that stuff.
well, I feel like I'm getting a good handle on it, but that's because I've sat around this
Yeah,
table for almost
absolutely.
5
Yeah.
years, so it's. I think it's gonna be worded in a way that we're not using terminology that we all know and understand, but that general people, like the general public will relate to?
I'll throw it at them and see what they come back with, and then flag that when we circulate the survey for review, just to give kind of a synopsis as to what they're.
Well, even if you go by, if you have some kind of a prompt for postal code at the beginning rather than the end, you might get a different set of questions to try to narrow that former village information for a water study.
That would be the only piece that we would narrow down though, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Because it's only applicable to the former village.
yeah,
Interesting.
But I don't know if that's possible.
yeah, I don't know either.
But yeah, when
But I
you think
know
of things like value for taxation too, right, like individuals in some of the rural communities with really bad roads, are gonna say that they're not getting value for their taxation because.
And they said it already, but that, on top of it, it's not even town of Salisbury's responsibility, that's my point. Like,
That's
you would
what-
think that all the roads in Salisbury would be DTI stuff, and it's not, like, until you really get into the weeds of this stuff.
Yeah.
That's
You don't really understand what level of government owns.
Plus,
What's that?
balance too on asking those questions when we get back, we're not gonna.
We get the crap for it.
Yeah, but we don't know the effective,
We
we
will,
don't really know. We won't, because if people are asking that they're saying they're not satisfied with the cost of their roads, we won't know where they're from.
but if we make it mandatory that we get.
Postal
to your
code we will,
route,
yeah.
we will, right? So that's where like, it's really, really key.
Postal code is, we've already, like, we guarantee it will be mandatory, they normally only take FSA, which is like in most of Salisbury, it's E4J, it's the
I
first
would
three
love-
letters.
I would love
Full for this one.
to not just have like, so like the full geo/demographic kind of, not to a like census level, but even your age range, how
So
many
the
people are in your. family.
Age, gender, housing type,
Income level,
I don't know if they mentioned
Education
income
level.
level.
I usually do
I would
narrative.
say income
surveys.
level,
There you go.
I figure my opinion's worth something, to somebody.
income level should be optional or something, but like
Almost a spit take, almost.
from a mandatory perspective, like if we have postal code, we know general age range of the household and how many people and type of house, then we have all of that information that reference against any one of these answers to give us that much more knowledge, right?
One of the pieces with that specifically, and you mentioned like not quite like census, but it's almost like census, because we technically don't have townwide census data that's accurate. So they're looking forward to taking the stats scan data that we have and seeing if it's representative with the responses that we get. So I don't know what census data they're gonna wanna look at, but they do. I can't remember exactly what they mentioned, but postal code is it for sure, age is for sure, housing type is for sure.
How many people in the house, like to me, that would be a.
That might be another
Like
one,
the
yeah.
age ranges within the household as an
Yeah.
example
I
is a
think
big
that's
one.
in there, I think I saw that they're doing a bigger over.
Yeah.
But this is a
In the
professional
house.
company, they'll
Yeah.
advise on all of that
Yes,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
So are you gonna seek their advice and then bring it back to the table or?
We're not gonna bring it back to a meeting, but we'll circulate the draft survey, like the intent is to kind of get some of these topics and general, just
Yeah.
like general kind of themes, and then provide it to them. And then, they'll come back with a test link, basically, that will show what people will see.
They're professionals, I kind of agree with whatever.
Yeah.
Narrative research.
Is there anything that we hope to know, we make mandatory, anything that's an opinion is optional?
Okay.
Right? You don't wanna force an opinion.
I really like that you're gonna give prizes.
You gotta get prizes.
Listen, I'm gonna fill out every survey that there's a.
You gotta get prizes.
Can we give like free?
No. We've been hoarding some of our UI prizes to give away and then
Okay,
do gift
yeah.
cards for restaurants and stuff.
Awesome. Good
Okay,
job.
we have them, okay, so all in favor?
Uh,
Reminded, carried, moving on to item 8.2, levels of service.
So if council remembers our October community of the whole meeting, we spoke about levels of service. We also talked about in part using what we just talked about as a way to kind of measure some general satisfaction. We talked about it initially after, amongst our crew, parked it for a little bit and then resurfaced it again to try to figure out how we could, quantify the discussion mostly revolved around events. And so we're proposing keeping somewhat of what we have and the rationale being that Some of the elements that we discussed, like satisfaction or level of effort, are not necessarily levels of service. They're metrics that can and should be and are measured, but not necessarily within the levels of service. And we feel, our recommendation is to keep that specific number, but it did help us realize that one of the gaps that we did not have in there is the fact that we pride ourselves as a municipality in offering free events. So our larger scale events are free. And we always say that our real metric is how many people come out for a free hot dog. So we say that jokingly, but that's kind of our internal level of service. But that's one of the pieces that that is a component that can be added in levels of service. And I'm not part of all the conversations, but just confirm that they do happen. A lot of times for the larger ones, I get looped in or I'm part of the conversations, but there is a general informal process of having the conversations that we talked about. So level of effort, improve for next time, what could be done better, what do we scrap, all of those things happen regularly and those conversations happen regularly after events. But based on the fact that levels of service are intended to help quantify budget recommendations, to be able to report on and say we met them, we didn't meet them. And given the fact that we're trying to illustrate our current levels of service that we have today, our recommendations to keep those numbers, specifically calling out targeting LSDs, that was another piece that we're recommending is important and why we're leaning towards numbers. But then also adding the free component. And I forget exactly how we propose that being worded, but there's some things we charge for, but most of our larger scale events are free. There are some alternatives, most of which were referenced in some way, when we discussed initially a committee of the whole. So some of those could include things like having basically a matrix to be able to evaluate events for things like levels of effort, all of those things. Not using numbers or using things like cost per attendee, those sorts of things. Those are ways that we can measure them as well. Those are all, like I mentioned, alternatives. Happy to answer any questions. Go back to the table if helpful. And the other piece that I'll mention is that we did try to look for other municipalities and none have any other options for us. So this is kind of what we've got for you, unless there's any sparks that are sparked here today. But we figured instead of just spinning the wheel and talking about it again, we'd say, let's go back and see what the scoop is. So with that, recommendation on the floor, and then happy to answer any questions.
I'll move that council approve the town of Salisbury's level of service with amendments to event levels of service as presented.
Seconded.
Deputy Mayor Lewis, President Council Bland, questions?
I'll just say that I know for me, I did bring up the, effort versus value thing, and it was, I think this is 100% covered in that with what you're doing. For me, it was more around the number of volunteers required versus the cost, because it's often hard to find volunteers and our volunteer community is aging.
Yeah. And I didn't put that in here actually.
In the operational thing, it doesn't need to be a level of service.
And we did talk about that when we first, like right after committee of the whole, we had that conversation. Again, I don't think I put it in here now that you're mentioning it, but the conversation basically was from a municipal event, so like our kind of pillar events, we only like commit and confirm what we can do with with like confirm, and that's a little bit intentional. We're more and more like our summer students we see them all the time. That's helpful obviously, but we plan events and the minimum level of service as if in a worst case scenario, we have 0 volunteers. The likelihood of that happening is slim and hopefully never. But we do plan for that. Obviously, most of our events are in the summertime, so they're not even volunteering, they're being paid to be there. Like, that's also helpful. Lots more hands on deck is helpful. And Katie in particular can just say, and they all just scream and they know what to do. So we plan based on those resources and what Katie can snap her fingers for. But yeah,
So,
what's discussed.
so when you talk about like the internal event debrief and presentation to council, like, do you have like a template of data that you're looking to capture in all those and present?
No, and the presentation to council piece was more from a budget perspective, to
Mhm.
say like generally, and we've done that again kind of informally the last couple of years when we've added things, like if you look at Harvest Fest, or if you look at Pumpkin Walk as an example, like when we bring those budget requests to council, we'll generally say because X, Y, Z, so budget for Harvest Fest because this is a new event, and here's kind of the intent. Increase for Pumpkin Walk because that's been one that we've increased the last few years because attendance is going from here, here and here. So it would be those types of informal things when we're having the internal debrief, they're talking about everything from the who brought porta potties and when and what time they should be there and where things should be plugged in and what should change on the site plan and what volunteers should wear. Like that's a lot more than we would like bring here per se, but we did discuss that we could probably look at something a little bit more formal to say, like, here's kind of a. Whether it's a review of the events, like at the front end of the summer, we generally bring the rec crew, say, here's what's on the go, we could do that at the end too, and say, here's kind of
Yeah.
the. Like looking back instead of only looking ahead, we did mention that could be an option too, but we did not get as far as a template to put that into.
So in the event, if you're having those conversations at like budget, around the budget time. And council decides that there wasn't enough value, and they say. I'm using this as a very wild example, but we're gonna cancel the Pumpkin Walk next year. Will we be forced by this policy to find another event to just do because we have to do 10? Like, are we tying ourselves to absolutely having 10, or what is the impact if we only do 8 next year?
There's no impact other than like, let's say, because we do more than 10, that's the one thing,
Yeah.
so like all of them are bare. Right now are bare levels of service, but let's say 2 were canceled, then when we reported on the following budget year. If we only did 8, if we said 10, we would just meet 80% of our service level for events. It's not the majority of the time, you're not gonna meet every level of service to 100%. I would be surprised, and if that was the case, and I would say, okay, we should probably look at our, we should probably look at our stuff. Yeah. Yeah,
But I guess, like, where is that being?
budget for council only, it's basically
council
like
only?
council's
So
report.
it's not a community-wide report card that goes out that looks like we're not meeting all of our service levels.
It is public technically, like it is public, but it's not like shame on the town,
Should be in our annual report.
Well, so like,
Part of it will
I guess what I look at when we're
Yeah.
talking about like the survey that we're looking at, maybe just in the last motion. We're gonna do a survey, but if we're gonna publicize that we already haven't met the service levels. And people get the question, are you getting the service that you expect from your municipality? Their answer is gonna be no, because we just published that we're not hitting the service levels.
nobody's gonna be, I'll put it this way,
I do,
I know,
right?
yeah.
Like that's the
But we
lens that I
won't
look
use
at
it,
things.
yeah, but we won't use it, like, we'll use it as a tool for setting those expectations and budget priorities. It's not a tool that we use to communicate, like proactively to residents to say like when you come home with a report card and you're like, hey, I got 2 Bs and an A+ and an A, like it's not the same in that front, it's a way for us to say, for example, let's say we're only meeting 80% of the service levels for events year over year, then we can say, we either have to change it or we have to increase events, where do we do that? The
Yeah.
easiest I always say is look at public works, so when you think like the things that people notice the most about what we offer, so snow plowing is the easiest. So let's say, right now, our level of service is that we prioritize sidewalks over trails. More and more, we will more than likely hear more complaints about trails not being plowed before sidewalks, because more and more people are using them. Which is a sign that either, maybe we have to prioritize a certain section of the sidewalk network and then go to trails and then go back to sidewalks, but right now, we do our full sidewalk network. And roads and parking lots before we go to trails. And similarly with roads, we pay for a certain level of service. It's after a certain accumulation of snow. If we get a whole bunch of complaints, we can come to council and say, we're meeting our level of service, it would cost X amount. To go from 10 centimeters before we plow to 2 centimeters and have plows everywhere all the time.
Okay.
So that's how we would use it, as opposed to like a success rate. It is a success rate, I guess, but it's our own,
Okay.
we set it, like, so we're measuring what council expects us to deliver on, basically.
Okay.
As opposed to what residents expect, I think,
So,
that's how I would frame it.
oh, sorry.
Okay, so my question, like, I know that we're trying to stay out of the weeds, and I love that for us, but I also wanna make sure that we're supporting the staff, that if there is an event that you feel like you have to keep doing, but you hate doing, like, is there a mechanism for you to come to us and say, we'd like to get rid of this, what do you think? Because that's why I kind of feel like, I know that your internal debriefs are great, but should there be a debrief before budget season with council, just to say, this is what we think should go? Like, I just don't know that that's set up, or is there enough support for that? Also, can we provide a different point of view as someone who's probably there volunteering, not running it,
Right.
but also talking to people? Like, I just wonder if there's like, is it too much in the weeds, or is it valuable?
I think
To piggyback on that point, should the budget be spent on 2 events? Or 4 events, or 10 events, like, is the value of having more events at a less price point per, or having a fewer larger events? Or making them more, I don't know, how you wanna say, it, how you wanna spend your budget, you wanna cut it out 10 ways or cut it over 2?
Yeah.
Because is the value of bringing the community together, which I'd argue is the whole point of all these events,
Right,
being met,
I think the piece like,
and when do you cut it?
the general approach that we take is if it's for that exact reason, if it's something that like. That is a part of, or the main purpose, if not the main purpose, part of the main purpose is to bring people together, those are the events that we make free. If it's not that purpose, those are what we charge for, so that's kind of our general distinction. I think we also did say the easiest thing to do is probably just remove events from level of service, which is an option too. We can do
Go for
that,
it.
but the piece,
Do you lose, I don't know.
I think, and
People love an
think.
event.
I think we would never remove the events, but I think that's why like we're insistent on it being in our level of service, is because if you look at municipalities our size, we bring in way more people at our events. We have more resources to allocate towards them, and that's why we get to bring in more people, like, so I think it's important for us. Yeah, it's important for us to include. I think going back to the piece of, we generally get Rec and Wellness to come in May and say, here's what we're doing this summer, and FYI, there's room to bring them back. I don't know when, if it's either before budget, like after the summer, or now before the summer, I don't know, we have to think on that more, but we could bring them back and say, here's kind of and a little bit more like, here's what we're allocating, a little bit more information dollar wise, like time wise, like we can dive into that a little bit more instead of just saying, here's our summer camp programming and when swimming lessons will start and when the dates for this, like. That's probably where I would say we would have that room for more.
Got it. I just
Yeah,
wanna make sure we're,
yeah.
like, hate to say this, it's an election year, but like the parade, for example, the summer parade.
Yeah.
Is that too much effort for the value that it's, like, I don't know, like, I'd like to hear their opinion, is that something that we should discuss? Not just like throw that on you to have to think about, I don't know.
So Cole,
You made a comment, and that's where I was gonna go with this, but like, I just wrote these all down, making that probably PTSD, but there's like SLOs and SLEs and SLAs and KPIs and all these different ways, like you can word things. I think it's a play on words thing, so like, that's more of a target than it is a level of service. Right, it's an operational target. It's not so it's like
I would say level of service is a municipal way of measuring operational targets. That might be an easier way to frame it.
yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, maybe it's just the way that we have it worded. Maybe none of it is levels of service. I don't know, but I don't know that.
It's definitely levels of service,
It's
but
definitely
it's-
a level of service.
yeah, but it would be called something different in the private sector.
To me, a level of
Yeah.
service though is something we would communicate to our residents. That's a level of service, because we're servicing the residents, right? So it's more, that's how I see a service, like, you're not servicing us by doing events, right? That's not the goal.
Right.
It's to, like, how do we, like, if it's not, I guess I was just going off Councilor Lance kind of comments about it, right? It's like, if we're putting it in as a level of service, it's something that we should be communicating somehow to our residents and be held to.
And if And the how to is another piece, like if, for example, we had only 10 events, we canceled 2 of them, we would flag that to council and say, like,
Yeah.
this will affect levels of service, like, that's a way for us to be able to say that, like, or if council says, we want to do XYZ program or initiative, and then I can come back and say, it will take X dollars and X time. Here's what it will affect, like, here's what we can't do if we do this, like, it's a way for us to go back and say, like, this is what, because it is something that we're saying that we will do, like, it's our baseline level. But it doesn't mean that it has to be at 100% all of the
No,
time.
I'm not, like, the differential or like where we are on those is not really kind of where I was going with it. It was more on the sense of like a level of service to me, whether it's an offer, an agreement, an expectation. If it's a service offer or a level of service, it should be communicated to who we are servicing. And if it's not, then to me, it's an operational target. That's just so when he was saying about like, are we gonna communicate out? Whether it's an up or down, or 100%, 80, 70, 110 is irrelevant. It's just more, what's the plan, I guess, for communicating all of these levels of service to the residents?
Anything we do is public, this will be public too, but the piece is not, like, it's more of a way for us to, it's an internal check and balance more than anything. It's a piece that's ratified by council to be public and residents can hold us to account. If they want to go and measure the snow and figure out when we start plowing and count our events, they can do that too, and measure it against like, they can still do that. But it's more of our own internal commitment more than, ultimately, residents have their own levels of service. And they get to pick them every 4 years at the ballot box, really, is the difference between public sector and private sector, right? So they can have their own envision of what levels of service are, versus us, where right now, we're setting these as kind of what we're doing today. A new council can come in May and June and say, we're kiboshing everything, we're doing 0 events, and we're like that. And that's why it's a piece because that's a council decision, so then we can say, we can implement that and say, if council wants to do X, Y, Z down the road, after those levels of service changed, after they change them, we can say what the impacts are in that level of service and how much those things will cost and what it will impact from one level of service to another. Like, we're not going out on Facebook and saying that, but
So
we'll use it in
I
CRM.
was just saying, we can agree to disagree, that I think that anything we choose as a level of service should be communicated to our residents, and the rest is operational targets. That's what I think, and that's just my personal opinion.
So what's the difference?
The difference operations internally. Level of service is us providing, this is what you're going to get from us, and here's how we're doing with it. That's what I think, just
I
like.
have 2 questions when I can. So does this not all fall under our community building and under our governance? What are community and quality of life? These are added value events that we've all discussed, that we've all agreed to, that we're building a better community. This is added value community building. So I think there needs to be an internal measurement that we're talking about. I think we're getting hung up on whether it's operational or logistically, it's,
Internal accountability.
Exactly, it's internal accountability, because we all sat around the table and we all agreed that strategically we want a better community. These are added value events that we've all agreed that structurally we want to come together and build a better community and a better quality of life to attract people to our community. So that's my voice on it. The other question that I have is back to the 3 and the 10. So the 3 and the 10, I'm assuming, Austin, that the 3 that we have assigned to LSDs are the block parties?
Yeah.
Okay, so just wanted clarification on that, and I love the way that you guys presented this in the chart that you did, where you itemized, all of the, I mean, that was tremendous, and the amount of added value that was noted in that chart should be published so that our people can see there's so much going on, there's so much added value to this community. The only thing that I asked for in that is that we kind of itemize, because there are things within that are offered to LSDs. It's not as an event, but it's still open to, and people are participating from.
Right.
So it could also be kind of highlighted.
Like
You know-
offered in or accessible to or something? Like offered in
Well,
LFD versus,
basically when you're reporting, because I found that there was a gap there when I was reading, it's like, okay, we're saying that we're servicing our, you know, overall community with this, but if you didn't know that it was offered to the LSD community, it wasn't highlighted. Do you know what I mean?
okay,
That was kind of one of the things that I brought up at the time when you produced this document.
Yeah.
And it's just really for matter of fact, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's really an information piece, that's all it is. It's not, it should not hold us to the fire.
No, it's just an internal gauge.
Yes, exactly.
So in here, Austin, we didn't have a vote on this.
Still on the question.
So-
there's a motion, is there a motion?
Was that? I think so.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made the motion.
I was gonna say it was moved.
There was a motion, but there's,
We got a vote,
It's already been moved and seconded.
we got a vote.
Yeah, no vote yet.
what are you voting on, because there's been so many changes in that.
Yeah, the piece, so the motion was to recommend with the changes to the events, I think,
So if we're sticking with the original motion.
yeah, or I think we'll bring them back regardless, I think, and we have to, we'll make it
So
pretty
there's been so
formatted
many-
anyways.
So much conversation here and so much, so what are we,
The piece, like, so basically, because what we were bringing back was specifically related to events, so the other ones were, we didn't have a motion, I don't think, because we brought it to committee of the whole, but, or we can call it approved in principle. So we need to know we need to know council's comfort level with events specifically. And then we'll bring it back formatted and we can do the addition in terms of what is, I don't know how we're gonna word it yet.
okay, that's good, that's
Accessible,
fine,
yeah.
I want to be
Yeah.
clear, the motion is strictly on the.
But this motion says that we're approving.
Approve them, yeah,
That's why I wanted to be very clear on.
yeah, let's say approve in principle, if we can make that friendly amendment, and then we'll do the same thing, as we did the last time, we'll just bring it forward for an official.
And I don't want to use the original motion.
Councillor,
Do you
Yeah.
agree with the friendly amendment to do?
To do as in principle, okay?
Okay, so moved.
and I'll agree to that as well.
Lynn. Okay, all in favor?
Uh,
Minded, carried. Okay, with that, item 9 bylaws, there is none this evening. Moving on to closed session, I'm going to get a motion to move into closed. It's required to discuss 2 items of content which is protected under section 61C and 68(1)D of the Local Governance Act. They are of a financial nature, D, and pertaining to land, D respectively.
Second.
So moved by Councilor Cole, second by Councilor Glant. Councilor Colwell and Glant. Questions to the motion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, the motion carries. Back into regular session, Councilor Thorne, seconded by Councilor Bannister. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're now back in regular session. Move on to item number 11, mayor and councilor statements. I have nothing to report. Councilor.
Think that move.
Moving on to item number 12, notices of motions and resolutions, nothing, or sorry, there's 12.1, resolutions for council meeting cancellations.
So quick synopsis, we do this always for the summer, for our summer meetings, but we're also, recommending, basically trying to put our own line in the sand for what we would normally call caretaker mode. There's not an official one, in the provincial legislation, but it's best practice to, not make significant decisions, too close to an election, so recommending adjusting the council schedule, accordingly. So there's a motion on the floor, and then we can answer any questions.
I move that Salisbury Town Council in 2026 not hold its regular council meetings in April and May, and also not hold its committee the whole meetings in April, July, August. And should need arise, hold special council meetings as required in July and August, in addition to the regular council meetings in July and August.
So moved by Councilor Bannister, second by Councilor Thorne. Questions to the motion?
Self-explanatory.
See no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Moving on to item 12.2, ISD East reciprocal agreement renewal 2026 to 2021.
I'll address kind of the next two in one. Council will recall, this also feels like yesterday, but it's the whole term of an agreement that's lapsed since. But we have a reciprocal agreement with both Anglophone School District East and the Minor Baseball Association. Both are somewhat related. The Anglophone East one, has minor changes to reflect just small things that we've noticed since we signed it, but also to provide clauses for potential land ownership changes, and being able to modify the agreement without having to reopen it again. But the main piece for the minor baseball one was that there is no renewal piece, so technically you have to do a new agreement every year. Our standard clause is however many years, in this case 3, with the option to renew for X amount, so in this case also normally 3, which wasn't there, so that's the other main change that they're proposing for the baseball association, so the changes are not substantial, they remain with the principle of the existing agreement, so we're recommending ratifying them, but can ask any questions or refer them to a closed meeting if there's anything contractual that needs to be discussed first.
I'll move the council authorize the execution of the reciprocal agreement between the town of Salisbury Anglophone East School District, Salisbury Regional School, and Salisbury Elementary School for a period of 3 years, with an option to renew the agreement for an additional 3 years.
Second.
So moved by Councillor Dexter, second by Councillor Bannister. Questions? Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
I'll move the council ratify the reciprocal agreement between the town of Salisbury and the Petitcodiac Salisbury Baseball Association for a period of 3 years, with the option to renew for an additional 3 years.
So moved by Councillor Thorne.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Bannister. Questions to the motion? Seeing no questions to the motion, all in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Thorne, seconded by Deputy Mayor Luce. Questions? Being none, we are adjourned. Thank you.